Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Anchor of the Week. My name is Courtney.
And my name is Lucas. We're an initiative of Hope in Our Creek Community Church in London.
Each week, we'll discuss different topics relevant to faith and Christianity in today's culture.
We are here to build a space for the church to share our experiences and challenge one another to grow in living like Jesus. Hello, guys. Welcome to the Anchor of the Week.
Yes, it's so good to have you guys back, tuning in for another episode, another topic, another conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With these beautiful people now.
I know. Yes, thank you. Thank you. We put a lot of work into these lights to...
You're welcome.
I know.
So bad.
So today's topic is not humility, unfortunately.
Show
No.
yourself.
I know, right? Today's topic is going to be a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Usually I say, I'm excited for a topic, for this topic. But this one, I'm a little bit like, okay, let's see where this is going to go.
Mm-hmm.
I hope you're enticed. I hope that.
I hope you're ready.
Yeah.
You have your popcorn there.
Exactly. Because today, this is, I would say it's a hot topic right now, in general, in the world, but it is relative truth. Leave some time for the oohs and the ahs.
Breathe in.
I know. It's a little bit of a scary topic, I think, these days.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. And for those of you who don't know, for everyone that is listening, for a little recap, relative truth is essentially that truth is relative. Therefore, everyone is entitled to their own truth.
Mm-hmm.
Which does not look like our world today at all whatsoever. That was sarcasm, of course.
Sarcasm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we live in a world where everybody believes that they have a truth,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody has to live with it, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't matter if you agree with it. You have to cope, kind of, in a way.
Yeah.
Which is, well, we basically are talking about it because we don't believe it's true.
Exactly. Well, the thing with relative truth, it's different than opinions, right? So everyone's I was going to say entitled to their own opinion, but are we entitled to anything? No. But everyone has their own opinions, right? And okay, like we can't make everyone believe the same thing or think the same way, But relative truth goes that step further and is like, no, what I believe is right, therefore you can't touch it, Or you believe what you believe, but please do not say anything to me.
Yeah, it's like I'm untouchable,
Yeah. Whereas I feel like opinions, it's more, I guess, open maybe to, change my mind, change my mind on this subject. This is my opinion. What's your opinion?
Bringing the Jesus told me card.
Oh. Yeah. If you are a Christian and want to win an argument, all you have to say is God told me.
Yeah.
Because who can disagree with that? No, he did it. Like, who knows that? Yeah. Maybe don't use it though. That's actually yeah.
Yeah.
Christian arguing 101.
We have seen it being used a bunch of times, but anyways.
Yes. From myself included, 100%. Yeah. And I think, talking a little back about relative truth, this is something that we actually touched on in a previous episode.
I think we touched on it quite a bit of times.
Yeah.
Just not said specifically what
exactly,
it is.
Exactly. Because I think our latest one we talked about, or like kind of went into the most, was the truth, unity, and social movements episode, which was maybe 3 episodes back. I don't know. I'm just trying to 3 to 4. You can go look for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, and we talked about like relative truth in the context of social movements, right? And fighting for what you believe is right, and all of that. It's a really good episode, if I do say so myself. So I highly recommend it. Humble brag. No, but I really think that honestly, God actually moved a lot and kind of highlighted a lot of things.
Yeah.
But yeah, as you said, this is kind of like a time where we're gonna move a lot deeper into it. Yeah, because as we said, it's a really real thing that we all face on the daily. So.
And I guess the question is like, what do we do? What do we do when we get to that time where we are talking with somebody where like they believe something that is not in our same beliefs, you can
Mm-hmm.
say, but as well, like, yeah, basically what we believe that God is saying, like
Mm-hmm.
what God says that this is the truth, you know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
yes,
We're gonna pin that. If you have more, but we're gonna pin
Jesus
that.
says the truth.
I know. Well, that's the thing is first step of thinking about relative truth is for us as people that believe in God is to say that we believe that there is an absolute truth.
Yeah,
And I think that scares a lot of people.
yeah,
I'm sorry if that scares you.
it does, and I understand because it's like basically you have no other choice. That's basically what it tells you, like in
Mhm.
your face. What you think of it is, I don't have any other choice. I have to accept this,
Mhm.
and then your rebellion side comes up.
Mhm.
Um,
Don't know that. What side is
what is
that?
that?
Unfamiliar.
But yeah, it's like, what do we do in those moments? When we're
Mhm.
having this conversation with other people or within ourselves, like we need to, because
Mhm.
we can't just talk about this like we are perfect.
Exactly. Honestly, the
Uh,
biggest arguments you have are usually with like in your mind.
yeah,
So take that as a little.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, as well, like if you want to find an easier way to find the truth, is like we usually try to find the easiest way to something.
Mm.
What
Mhm. The most
Well, we
comfortable
say
way.
the flesh once, but it's basically what feels nicer.
What feels nice.
Yeah.
We all like comfort. We like ease.
Mm.
You go to the amusement park. You get you pay for the fast pass. You don't have to wait in any lines. You know,
Yeah.
whatever gets you there with like the most comfort. But it doesn't really work when you are seeking truth.
No.
No, because truth is uncomfortable. It is very uncomfortable, right? Because it confronts us, and that is one thing about relative truth is that it's not very confronting. You can be confronted maybe by other people's version of truth. But the fact is, if believe what I believe and you believe what you believe, and okay, you can't touch me because I believe what I believe is truth,
Yeah.
then I don't have to be confronted by any counter opinions, or by anyone questioning,
True.
because no, truth is relative. So what you say is then irrelevant to my truth. Yeah. Ouch.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, basically, guys, like, I mean, I have a very, like, I guess, technical head, and I'm thinking of an engine right
Yes.
now.
I'd just like to
It's,
note that all of your examples were usually something to do with like engines or
yeah,
cars or like
things like
phones.
that, because for me, like, I guess it might be also because, man, we're very, like, good with, like, objects and technical things, I guess, in that
Yes.
side, we just visualize things
And
like
I'm
that.
not.
But what I'm saying or I'm thinking with this is like you can just like say no, this is this relative truth. I'm thinking this circle is 20 and it's supposed to fit in this 15 and radius circle no matter what.
Mm.
You can't just try to fit something that is not really like nature. God is truth,
Mm-hmm.
and that's you cannot just it, everything we just see this so many times in movies and people have copied it from God actually.
Yep.
But God is in everything. He
Mm-hmm.
is the nature, He's the truth. And you can't just try to fit something else
Yeah.
within something because that's not how it works.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. And that is like the foundation for us as people that, believe in God, that follow Jesus, right? It's like Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life, right? And do we believe it, And are we trying to pick and choose parts of our
Mm.
faith, right? Because that's not living by
Yeah.
actual truth. And I think what this really kind of requires from us at the first step,
Mm.
before we even think about how do you like talk to someone who like, is all into relative truth, or even things like that, before we even get there, or even think about that, I think we have to ask ourselves, like, do I believe that God is the absolute truth? Like what he says is truth,
Mm.
because maybe I think a lot of us know that that is the right idea, as Christians, like, oh, of course, like God is truth. But are there areas in our lives where it's like, oh my gosh, I actually don't believe
Mm.
that, or I'm not sure, And I think as well, like, this talk is not meant to be condemning or
Mm.
anything like that. But like, let's challenge ourselves to see, like, okay, in this world of relative truth, our standing on absolute truth is even more so important than it's ever been, you know? So just kind of that encouragement to like, let's take time to like check ourselves first before we go out
Yeah.
and conquer that relative truth.
And why is this important? Like,
That's true.
it's this is important because if we're seeing from the perspective of the church, we say and we believe we're moving towards God's plan,
Mm-hmm.
right? But how can we do that if we are all believing our own truth? We cannot move united, as we have talked about it before,
Ding, ding, ding.
right? Everybody's just going their own way.
Mm-hmm.
This is my way of doing things, and this is how it works for me the best,
Mm-hmm.
And like, but God is pushing us. He wants us this way, and you're just doing this. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
you're slowing everybody down. And this is now, but it
We're all
sounds really
slowing
hard.
each other down.
But we are
Yeah.
slowing ourselves. We're not.
Or the advancement of the kingdom,
Yeah.
essentially. It's like taking the long way, you know, losing people, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And I mean, we have talked about this as well before, but I guess we centralize everything so much on ourselves. It's just it is very difficult, and that's why we're talking about it,
Yeah,
right?
because it is an everyday struggle.
Yeah, it's an
Yeah.
everyday struggle. But because we do that, we just first we don't uh we forget about everyone else that is around us.
Mm-hmm.
First, what do you call it when you get sickness? Is
The
first
first symptom.
the first symptom is right there,
Exactly.
And once you forget about it, then you don't care anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so if we don't, if this is one of the values and the truth that we believe of God, that we are here to love one another and to be like Jesus and all that, but we can't just decentralize ourselves.
Exactly. Yes, then I want to kind of touch back then on what you said about the unity as well. And of course, like when we're centered on ourselves, it's disunity is like a side effect of that, another symptom, shall we say. But when we think about, okay, we've talked about this before, again, in many other podcasts, I think we've at least touched on it. But like the church united is what like shakes the gates of hell, right? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Sorry, that's very like old school Christian. But like the enemy is afraid of a united church. Let's just
Yeah.
say that, right? You know. But I mean, anything united, a united country, a united whatever.
It's terrifying.
It's terrifying, right?
Yeah.
It's strong. It's united. It's harder to break. You know, it's
Yeah.
harder to come against. And so if we're all operating in our own relative truth, even within the same beliefs, right? So we can all be Christians, but we have different, not even viewpoints, because we all have different viewpoints because we're different people with different experiences, you know? But when we all have relative truth, even within a church, you know, it's like there's no need for collaboration because there's no need for compromise, right? And so if we're not collaborating with each other, we're just isolated. We're like little islands that make up a country. You know, but there's no crossing over. There's no like banding together. There's no supporting. There's no accountability, right? How can I hold you accountable if like your truth is way different than my truth, you know? So we lack that accountability. And yeah, I was, okay, here I am again going to talk about social media because apparently I have to do that once every episode, I think. If you haven't caught on, that is part of my job. I do social media. But there is essentially a quote, I wish I had who it was from. But basically, like, if everyone is entitled, the idea is if everyone is entitled to their own facts, there is no need for people to compromise or to interact, right? Because it's my facts are my facts, your facts are your facts, kind of a deal. And like we need to agree on like the fact that there is such a thing as truth, or else we can't actually navigate any of our problems because then we will never agree on a solution. And this is coming from like a tech industry insider, right? This is not a pastor. This is not a missionary. This is not like a social justice movement leader.
Yeah.
You know, this is literally a guy that is a part of the tech industry and tech development and is noticing, again, as we talked about before, like, you know, fake news, you know, and like we're receiving the facts that validate our opinions, essentially, our relative truth. And if even he is like, we have to agree that there is one truth. Because if not, then where does that leave us as society, right? It's like loose ends everywhere. And I think we all like the idea of banding together, again, to go back to our social movements episode. Like, we love to fight for something,
Mm.
but how could we ever actually make a change if we all see the end goal as something different? And so if we apply that to the church, like, how could we ever work towards something, or like actually advance the kingdom if we don't agree on where at least we're going? Maybe we'll have very different viewpoints of how to get there, you know.
Yeah.
But if I think this is important and you don't think that's important, you think this is important, then we're all just kind of like let free, to
Yeah.
run. I just knocked a light, for those of you who did not see. I was gonna try to play it off cool, but I don't think that's how that would work.
It's okay.
um, but yes,
Yeah.
to end my little rant there.
Yeah, and I guess I'm gonna touch the side that nobody wants to talk about. But
I'm
if
ready.
like yeah, if we want to work united, we need to be willing to give up our truth. Yes. Um, like
Just let that sink in.
yeah,
Let that slow burn.
I'm not. Well, I feel like I kind of say this because I have a little bit of a experience on just a little bit.
Just a little
I'm
bit.
just for the ones that don't know, I'm married, and
Yes, we'll pray for you.
one of the
Sorry.
things that you know is like for I'm gonna touch on something that we talked about before. Um, ho- yeah, like you start to learn to decide what do you value more? Do
Mm.
you value more the relationship with your wife, or do you value more being right?
Mm.
Yeah,
Finger guns, and that's all I got.
yeah.
I'm
So
not married, but that does not sound fun. I'm just gonna put that out there.
yeah, and so like with that, it's like yeah, I was like when I'm going through them, like I decided to be married with this person, right? For the
Mhm.
rest of my life, we are one.
Mhm.
So basically, she is me, and I'm and I am her. Kind of all together one.
One.
But no, it just is that like of course, and like we were just talking about, we we don't have to only think about there's nothing like a relative truth. We also have to fight for working together on the right
Mhm.
truth as
Mhm.
well.
Mhm.
Like we as a couple, we need to give up our own thing to make sure that we are all both going aligned, because otherwise,
Yes.
like we were just saying, we just go nowhere. We
Mhm.
just get stuck in there. Our It's not just
Or you
that.
go in completely opposite directions.
Yeah, well, that's how we get divorced and stuff like that,
Oh my gosh, please don't.
Yeah, but
I like your wife too
I'm
much.
not I'm not talking about me ourselves, but I'm talking about
Yes.
couples. This is what happens.
Yeah.
We just don't take that decision anymore. And but what I'm saying as well is if we don't take the decision to fight for the truth,
Mhm.
then we're not growing.
Mm.
I'm
Mhm.
staying. I'm literally creating a cap for both of us to not do not go deeper on our
Yeah.
relationship,
Yeah.
on what more there is for us,
Exactly.
for us both. This is just a couple, I guess, example. I can say whatever, but this
Yeah.
is
It
this
it
this can
communicates
this
it.
applies with everything as well.
Yeah.
It applies to the church. It applies with the relationship we have with people
Mhm.
in our neighborhood and in our own house.
Mhm. Mhm. And what you said too about like it like I don't know if you actually said roots it or if I just thought roots it, but it's that idea of like when we stand in absolute truth, that doesn't change. An absolute truth is the same yesterday, today, and forever because it is in essence truth. There is nothing false about it, nothing that can change. And relative truth, if truth is relative, it means it's always changing, right? So if we are believing in absolute truth and we are like standing on absolute truth, that roots us, right? And it like gives us that solid foundation so that even when things happen, and if I'm not secure on my truth, you could say something to me that could totally shift my perspective of the world or my perspective of truth, or something could happen in the world. Coronavirus, for
Let
example.
me just make it easier. You were saying about what if you're not rooted on the right root, or rooted on the truth, right?
The absolute truth.
Let let's just say a tree that is rooted with an around a rock, we know that that thing is not going to move. But if it is done on sand, when the wind comes, it's blown
She going
away.
down.
But the sand can be the relevant truth, the relative truth.
Yes.
It's not the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's not the truth, it's not gonna keep you going anywhere. It's not gonna keep you solid. It's
Mm-hmm.
just gonna knock you off at some point.
Exactly. Because if we accept that truth is relative, we also have to accept that it will always change.
Mm.
And that is not who our God is.
No.
No, he, as we said, he is the same yesterday, today, and forever. He's the Alpha, the Omega, at the beginning, the end. Like all this, the stuff that we recited, in like Bible school or like Sunday school. But yeah,
Yeah.
I love that picture of it because I think that is so true. And
And we do say that God is always like changing, but I feel like he's not changing. He just applies to every age.
mm-hmm.
It's not
He's
that
moving. He's not
he's
changing.
not moving.
That's so different.
He's he's just perfect. So like, what can we say? He's
Love that guy.
yeah. But he like, why would he have to change if he's perfect? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's just that it's just with every age, with every generation we have, like his truth applies no matter what.
Exactly.
We're the one that are
Exactly.
changing to things, but
We're the irrelevant ones.
yeah,
Yeah.
but he's always relevant.
He is always relevant, And I think maybe that's something that this generation, us,
Us,
weird,
yes.
um, like kind of struggles with in that sense is because it's almost like, well, if you stand on absolute truth, like it's what if we fall behind in the times? What if we become irrelevant, because what if we're not moving? What if we're not accepting? What if we're not all of this? But I think it's to have, as you said, this understanding and this view of God of being so much above all of that.
Yeah.
Like he is fresh. He is the fresh wind, and it's like we can have that absolute truth, but move in that freshness and that boldness, knowing that God is doing a new thing. Like we don't have to be afraid of being behind culture, because I think that's where a lot of the relative truth creeps in to the church, is when it's like we're afraid that we're becoming irrelevant or, that we're falling behind in the times, but God is outside of time, So
Yeah.
I love that. Something to remember for sure. Okay, so all of this being said, right? How do we like actively move in this now? Because we've talked about it. We've talked about like, okay, making sure we believe absolute truth, why relevant truth is essentially irrelevant. Oh, I said relevant truth. I meant relative.
It's okay. It's probably my influence on you.
Yes, you're Spanglish.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've been saying it wrong this whole time. We hope that you understand what we were saying.
Yeah.
But how do we move in this now? Because it's one thing to talk about it in theory or even, with yourself, with people, that like support you and encourage you and challenge you, in like a healthy way. But then how do we have conversations with people in our lives? Christian, non-Christian, doesn't matter. When they believe in relative truth and, they don't need to touch their truth because they're entitled to their own truth,
Yeah.
How do we engage in conversations with them? Because obviously we don't want to water down what we believe. We can't just go, oh, okay, fine, that's your truth then, because we don't believe that. But also, it's not going to build anyone up if we go around smacking people in the heads, like, with our truth, Yeah. I'm asking you, but really,
Yeah, I know.
let's figure this out together. Any tips? Any,
I mean, it's a difficult question, I guess, because you can't just talk about something that you don't know. If you don't know what truth is,
yeah.
like how can you just stand out for the truth, in a way? Because that's basically what you're asking, is like, how can I stand for the truth without making huge mess, basically.
Exactly.
Um,
With being insensitive, essentially,
So, like, I mean, for sure, I guess we need to know God. We need to know we need to know the Bible.
That is such a good point. Yes.
We need to read it, because if we don't read the Bible, which He already explains Himself in there,
Exactly.
He basically said everything about himself, and if
Exactly.
he said, if you want to know me, go to the Word,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
And he, as you were saying, and you touched on, is that I am the truth. He's
Mhm.
so yeah.
Yeah.
We need to seek Him first,
Mhm.
and then
That's good.
as we seek Him and we get to know Him, we need to keep moving in humility, so that His presence will, how would you say, glow from us. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? In a way,
Exactly.
like
It's
He's,
through our humility that he shines through,
yeah.
right?
Because
Like,
the thing is that when you believe on something, it just comes out of you. As like we see in social media, people just jumping for it.
mhm.
And the more we know of God, the more we know about His truth.
Mhm.
Whenever we jump on that, it's gonna be the truth of God. It's not.
Mhm.
But of course, the only way it will happen would be if we know that we need Him, the in a humble way, because then
Yeah.
our flesh would jump. You know.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's,
Humility is for sure key.
yeah.
Because we're not trying to prove a point with absolute truth, because absolute truth defends itself.
As we said before, we don't
Like,
need to defend God. He he doesn't need somebody to defend Him.
no. Oh my gosh. Who do we think we are that we're here to
Yeah.
like defend God, you know? Um, but yeah, and like when it's something as immovable and unshakable and eternal, like it speaks for itself.
Yeah.
But again, what you said about reading the word, and I think it's just that God literally gave us like he's like the easiest way to get to know me is literally by picking up this book and reading it,
Yeah.
and it's like that's incredible. But I think we also need to learn to love the word, and I don't know, that's something that I personally have been trying to work on, as like God, I want to be someone that actually like loves your word, that like sees you in every
Wow.
page, and even like the chapters of numbers, which I really like try to scan through because I don't get it. It's just numbers and measurements and stuff,
Right.
but it's like, no, God, like you're in this. Like something about this tells me about your character.
I mean, it tells you that He appreciated each one singularly.
Mm-hmm.
That He put a whole book with each one of their names and their kids and everything.
That's crazy. It's so crazy.
He doesn't just look at the
The big
story and
picture.
what is gonna the repercussion of somebody believing in Him. He also be, loves each one of us
Yes, for sure.
singularly.
For sure. And it's amazing, So amazing. Little praise moment.
What not to love
Uh,
about this guy?
I know. But yeah, definitely like knowing the word. And I think knowing what the Bible says for us to live like and then actually living it. And then as you said, like, yeah, I think I just kind of started to talk about my closing statement. I feel like I just like yeah, anyway. So I think we're on to closing statements now.
Yeah.
Because I'm clearly already in mine. So to continue. Um, but yeah, being rooted, and I think how can we be rooted if we don't know God, but if we also don't know His Word and what He even says,
Mhm.
So okay, like look at the Bible. Like if you don't know what to think about a situation, look in the Bible, see if it talks about it, and if not, like know God's character enough, that you would know how He would move.
Yeah.
How did Jesus move, like in certain situations,
Yeah.
and I think that is like really key because that will help us to not only be like firm and like okay, like there is an absolute truth, but also this is how I can go about it,
Yeah.
Jesus was so like he was like I am the truth, like it's not just everyone believe whatever they want, but the way he moved, it was confronting when he needed to confront. He was merciful, he was gracious, he was, he brought everyone in and close and was stooped low and served and was humble, He didn't stand, on a table shouting at everyone that like
Mhm.
this is the truth and you better believe it.
Yeah.
But yet he literally is truth. So
Yeah.
speechless, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that is such a way I think to go forward in this. Um, yeah.
I guess sometimes as well we just are scared to to have that like um humble entrance to a
Mm.
conversation, because we feel like we're gonna just be molded in a way,
Mm.
which is a legit thing. We
Yeah.
need to be careful what we let in, because
Mhm.
if we don't kind of have this boundary where like we know, no, this is God
Mhm.
and this is not.
Mhm.
And like, yes, it doesn't mean that because you're not saying anything that you have to like embrace the other person's truth and what they believe.
Mm-hmm.
But that God is the actual thing, but still move in humility
Yeah.
and trust in Him.
Because when you know something is true, of course you want to, but I'm right,
Yeah.
like, and okay, like I might be right, but is that going to build up this conversation? How do you communicate that? Be sensitive, be gracious, be strong, but there's mercy.
Strong and gracious.
Strong and gracious. Yes. Do you have a closing statement? Was that kind of your closing statement? This is very non-linear tonight. Kind of like my brain. So
I think my closing statement, I guess, would be like, if without truth, without us following the truth, we are lost.
yes.
It's not just where we're going, but just we are lost. Like, as a team, as people, we're not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
We are limiting ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
and as well, we are not going anywhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that for me is
I know.
one of them.
I think this was a very hard one to kind of summarize closing statements.
Yeah, because there's so much to take from.
So much. Yeah. Well, we hope that everyone listening, that you took as much from this conversation as Lucas and I did. Yeah, I think this is one that hopefully we'll kind of mull over in our heads a little bit more. And not just our heads and our hearts, I guess, as well. Let's not just keep this knowledge, but yeah. Hope this encouraged you. Hope this challenged you. If so, let us know. Leave us a comment on YouTube or any of the Hope and Anchor social media as well. But yeah, thank you so much, guys. Honestly, it's a privilege to do this. So yeah, we will see you next time.
See you next time.
Thanks again for joining us for today's episode of the Anchor of the Week.
Make sure you follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube so you never miss an episode.
We'll see you next time.